Hey everyone, welcome to Geek Speak. Jiggy Cruz here, and I sincerely apologize for the long hiatus. My work took a turn and I was super busy. But anyway, I'm back and I've seen Captain Marvel 3 times already. I've collected enough Easter eggs, so I think we can do this list of Easter eggs. But fair warning for those who haven't seen Captain Marvel yet, spoilers ahead. So I have 2 types of Easter eggs, the Marvel Easter eggs and the 90s Easter eggs. So let's start with the Marvel Easter eggs. At the start of the movie, when they go on the secret mission to save Solar in Torfa, we see the hexagon space jump, or what they call the Universal Neural Teleportation Network from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. They also use the same font for introducing planets from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, we see returning characters from that specific movie, Korath the Pursuer and Ronan the Accuser. So going back to that secret mission, they head on over to Torfa, a planet introduced from the Captain Marvel comics back in 2014, and it was a planet with numerous refugees, which we later find out in the movie that the Skrulls were actually refugees. After the mission, when Carol gets captured by the Skrulls, we see lots of flashbacks. We get to see that difficult father-daughter relationship that Carol had with her dad. However, we also do see the closeness with her older brother from the comics, and it was also seen when they were looking at shooting stars. During the flashbacks, we also get to see Maria, quote-unquote, Photon Rambo at the side of Maria's plane. So Photon is a reference to Monica Rambeau, who at one point was Captain Marvel in the comics, and then she became Photon, and finally she becomes Spectrum. So the part wherein she chooses the color scheme of Carol's new costume, the color spectrum, does that ring a bell? Aha! Anyway, we also get to see some tributes to the different costumes, like the white and black and the white and green. Still at the flashbacks, but the main part of those flashbacks, Lawson. So if you're a hardcore Marvel zombie, Lawson should have been a giveaway. The original Marvel was Walter Lawson, but in the MCU, she was Wendy. So I super like that twist, to be honest, because in the MCU, we can expect loads of surprises. So Lawson also gives Carol the nickname Ace, which is also a reference from the comic books. So Project Pegasus is an Easter egg from the first Avengers movie back in 2012. So we see that S.H.I.E.L.D., Project Pegasus, NASA, and the US Air Force have been friends for a long time. So it makes sense that Howard Stark must have given the Tesseract to Marvel. So for those asking, there's a relation with Project Pegasus and S.H.I.E.L.D. We now move to Los Angeles. In that train scene, we see Stan Lee reading a Mallrats script, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, from Kevin Smith, and Stan says, while he's practicing, "Trust me, true believer." For those not familiar, true believer is how Stan Lee addresses or welcomes the Marvel Comics fans. So from Mallrats, this was the line when he said goodbye to the main character, Brody, played by Jason Lee. I was pretty emotional because it's Stan saying goodbye. So still in that train scene, when Captain Marvel hits an old lady, this was something from the comic books, although this was done the other way around. In the comic books, it was the old lady who slapped Carol. So as Thanos would say, perfectly balanced, as all things should be. Writer of Captain Marvel, Kelly Sue DeConnick, makes a cameo at the train station, and you really can't miss that bright red hair. And it's pretty funny because Kelly Sue rolls her eyes at Carol. We move on over now to another comic book reference when the Supreme Intelligence says that the Skrulls were silently infiltrating planets. So this was a reference to the crossover event Secret Invasion by Brian Michael Bendis, my friend and fellow Filipino, Mr. Laniel Francis Yu. So which brings me to the Skrull autopsy. This was taken directly from Secret Invasion issue 1, showing the autopsy of the Skrull Electra or Skrullectra. I thought it was pretty cool. When Fury and Carol head on over to Project Pegasus, we see that they look over some files looking for Lawson. And when we see Maria Rambeau's file, it said Edwards Air Force Base. So this Air Force Base was also seen in Iron Man 2, wherein Rhodey brings the confiscated Mark II. Rhodey, Maria, and Carol are all part of the US Air Force. So yeah, Edwards Air Force Base makes sense. So later on in Louisiana, we see Goose scaring Talos because Talos tells everyone in that house that Goose is actually a Flurkin. And a Flurkin is an alien where it has tentacles coming out of the mouth, but they look exactly like cats. So think about it this way. They're similar to Rocket, looking like a raccoon, but he's not really a raccoon. So for those asking, Rocket is a half-worlder. We get to that touching scene where Monica tells Carol that she kept her leather jacket. And I think this was a tribute to Joe Quinones' cover art from Captain Marvel issue 10. And later on, he does make a recreation of his own cover with Brie now as Captain Marvel. So when Monica finally chooses the colors red, blue, and gold, that's the design from artist Mr. Jamie McKelvey. He's pretty significant to that Captain Marvel Carol conceptualization. But we need to say thank you to former editor and now VP for creatives and content. That's Mr. Steven Wacker. Steve, thanks so much. We head on over to space. We see Mar-Vell's lab. So Walter Lawson in the comics was a scientist. Wendy Lawson is also a scientist, so they need their laboratories. In that lab, we see the most popular Infinity Stone that makes its 90s appearance. The Tesseract is back, and it's really cool to see all these Infinity Stones being seeded in the different movies. So in that lab fight, we see the Kree's full costume with their helmets, so that's super similar to the comic books. Nearing the climax, when Carol is falling down from space and she learns to fly, this was a direct reference to issue 1 of the run of Kelly Sue DeConnick and fellow Filipino Mr. Dexter Soy. That was pretty cool. Also, the tagline of Captain Marvel, higher, further, faster, was also taken directly from that comic book run. During that climactic battle with Carol fighting the accusers, we see Ronin's ship, the precursor to the Dark Aster. They have that similar silhouette. It's still pretty cool that Marvel Studios has all these little details. Nearing the end already for the Marvel Easter eggs, Nick Fury saying from Captain America the Winter Soldier, last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye. And he did lose his eye because Goose scratched it, and he did say that he trusted Goose not to eat him. So we head on over back to Louisiana when Carol and Nick were washing dishes. Carol gave that upgraded two-way pager, which we see at the end of Avengers Infinity War. And finally, we get to see Nick Fury conceptualizing the Avenger Initiative. So this was taken from Iron Man 1 back in 2008. But from the comic books, it was the comic book Avengers The Initiative. Still my favorite bonus credit scene, Iron Man 1. Rocked my world. Now let's go through the list of the 90s Easter eggs. So how can you miss that giant Blockbuster store? Come on, kids, you used to rent movies at a Blockbuster, VHS tapes, what have you. Back then, they weren't available digitally. Carol blasts a True Lies standee starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis. Captain Marvel is a movie about lies. The Kree lied to Carol. The Skrulls lied to everyone about their appearance, secretly infiltrating. So True Lies makes sense. Carol also picks up a VHS tape which says The Right Stuff. So The Right Stuff was a novel adapted into a movie. It's about the first 15 years of America's space program. So this is related to Pancho's Bar, where she meets Fury later on. Pancho's Bar is a reference to female aviator Pancho Barnes and the Happy Bottom Riding Club, featured in, you guessed it, The Right Stuff. Carol heads on over to a Radio Shack wherein she buys a Nintendo Game Boy that aids her in communicating with Star Force. The posters surrounding Carol during that payphone scene had posters of Rock the Vote, among others. Carol using old computer tech, Alta Vista, the old search engine, was seen, and then she steals a 9-inch nails t-shirt, prominently seen throughout the movie. At Pancho's Bar, we see a Street Fighter arcade game being seen in one of the flashbacks. And then in Louisiana, Monica was using a Discman to cover her ears from hearing the black box audio file that a CD-ROM was used. And in, you know what, the whole cinema was laughing because of those old 90s super slow tech. And in Marvel's lab, we see the Space Invaders pinball machine. Last but not the least, isn't really a 90s Easter egg, but it's the Fonz lunchbox from Happy Days, and Henry Winkler makes his appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's about it for my Marvel Easter eggs and 90s Easter eggs for Captain Marvel. It's still showing. If you haven't seen Captain Marvel, please do check it out. It's an awesome, awesome movie from Marvel Studios. So this has been Jiggy Cruz from Geek Speak. Thank you very much for watching this Easter eggs video, and I'll see you very soon. Catch you next time. Bye!